Welcome to Toy Business Unboxed, your gateway to the secrets of the toy industry. Here, Jason Shea, a toy entrepreneur and expert in the field.
Every product we develop is really inspired by some of the real life experience that we have with our son.
60% of all toys last year were sold on Amazon, which is incredible.
Be passionate about it because it's a road, it's a journey.
Like when you have an idea that you think is like gonna somewhat like change the world, make things better, I'd say go for it.
We'll guide you through the enchanting world of toy design, marketing, and manufacturing. Now let the unboxing begin.
Well, welcome back to another episode of Toy Business Unboxed podcast. Today we have Steve, a creator of SRG Universe and Supershow the Game, which is a fantasy wrestling collectible card game that have taken the tabletop games by storm. For over 10 years, Steve has independently published, self-distribute, and expanded his brand into a powerhouse beloved by his fans nationwide. So, and now over the year, he have created multiple games, and he's going to talk and share some of his experiences within the toys industry with us today. So thank you so much for being on our shows today, Steve.
Appreciate you bringing me and the amazing introduction that you just gave regarding the Supershow. And it's been an incredible ride. We started this project up about 10 years ago. And after 10 years, we have a really incredible rating on Board Game Geek. We have about an 8.2 overall rating. Hundreds of reviews. Journey, and seeing our fans really embrace the game for not only something that they could play at their tabletop and have fun with, but create a whole world around it, where they have their own wrestling federations all across the country, and they're role playing and cosplaying and creating events and title belts. It's really been something very, very special that we were able to do over the past 10 years.
I see. Thank you for so much for sharing that. Before we proceed with the next set of interview, can you just change your camera resolution for me by clicking on the gear icon? Instead of high, can you change it to maybe medium? That will really help with the internet bandwidth, I feel like.
How's that? That seems like a good solution. I'm already moving quicker on screen.
Okay. I think hopefully that's going to help with the internet bandwidth. So again, thank you again for being on the show and sharing your background about the game. But looking back many, many years ago when you first started the game, what was the inspiration behind the first game that you created? How do you get the idea? And can you share some story behind that as well?
Absolutely. When I was younger, there was a wrestling game called WWE Raw Deal. It was created by Baron Vanger Toth and a gentleman by the name of Mike Foley, and I believe it was produced by Comic Images, and it was branded to WWE. And this was just a huge part of my childhood. There was a store called VideoGameCentral.com, which had not only video games but tabletop games, and it was like the local hangout. For myself and some of my friends when we were very, very young. And this game became a huge part of my childhood. We would play competitively. It was where I first started to travel on my own, whether it was from Queens, New York, down to the city, or out to Kentucky and Indianapolis. And it was, again, like it was a huge part of my childhood. A lot of my lifelong friendships developed from the game. Sadly, game ended up coming to an end, and one of the creators, Baron Vanger Toth, really one of my inspirations as a human being, he ended up passing away, and there was kind of like this void in our play group. It was never kind of the same. So we messed around with a whole bunch of different other things to fill our hobbies, and we stumbled across this game that was called Pop's Attack. $1 a pack, and it was in Target, and we all bought a bunch of packs, and the game mechanics, I'm very sad to say, were very bad. There was almost no theme to what we're playing. This was an NFL themed game. So
Okay.
what I had done was taking the Tops Attack cards and I wrote my own game. I used these rules, right, that I felt made it thematic to a football game. So I made sure that you had 16 players on your team. There was
Okay.
and people started having tournaments. So we had our store that would like buy out the packs, and then they would go to Target. And for some reason, we were able to, across about 3 stores, get this game really popular. And
Okay.
we were playing our own tournaments with our own rules.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine had approached me saying that we should try to design our own product. And in
Okay.
the early stages, we looked to do a game based on UFC. Now, I personally am not a UFC fan by any means. It's not my
Okay.
type of thing. I like the fake fighting much more than watching people really try to beat themselves up growing up. So the theatrics is more of my stuff. So I had wrote up a game rules for a game, and a friend of mine had filled in the cards, and we decided to pitch it to a company. And I called
Okay.
several times until I could get a meeting with Topps, who at the time had the rights to distribute a UFC game.
Okay.
And they like loved our group, loved our package, and they said that they don't feel that there is a strong market for UFC trading card games, and I really felt the same way. And then at that point, they asked for a wrestling game, and I said like this would be a dream come true. The people that I worked with initially, they didn't want to. They wanted to stick with the product that we had developed, and I wanted to pursue giving them what they wanted. I said, hey, we have this huge company with the licensing rights. It would be really fantastic if we could create our own wrestling game. And they didn't want to pursue that, so I ended up pursuing that independently. And I
I see.
brought them initially actually a board game with similar rules to Supershow. And I brought it in, I did my pitch. I told them, watch Royal from the very early stages to the final stages. I really feel I understand what makes players get invested and what makes you lose players over time. And they seem to really love my product, but they told me that they wanted to do only a card game. They didn't want to do a game. And this kind of put me in a strange position because I really had a true like devotion and loyalty to Raw Deal as my favorite game. And it took me a couple days to really come to terms with the fact that the game was probably not coming back. And I do have an opportunity to create something based off something I really loved as a child, and not necessarily replace it, but maybe enhance it and do what I did to like properly create a wrestling game. And I don't want to be a slight against Deal because, as I said, it was my favorite thing ever growing up. I consider Baron one of my idols. But over time, it didn't really feel like a wrestling game. It felt like a game with pictures of wrestling on it. And it's now my goal, especially that a company had asked for it, to deliver a wrestling that actually felt like you were wrestling. And I felt like a wrestling match really had to be something that was unpredictable. And from playing other games as a kid, like MLB Showdown, there was dice rolling involved, and dice always make things back and forth and exciting. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
So I really loved that aspect of it. So I added dice to it. I took my mechanic from that I created for the board game, and it was very simple objective. You had leads, follow-ups, and finishes, and you're trying to hit your finishing move by rolling the dice. And I felt that really captured what it was like to have a wrestling match. And then I also wanted the people who are organizing the events to play the role of like a general manager on a wrestling show. So not only do you play this game that plays like a wrestling match, but you also have these external factors that the people make you feel like you're involved in a wrestling show. So like right off the bat, I wanted to make sure not only could you have a wrestling themed game, it could do everything that a wrestling match would have to do. And that means multiplayer action and different stipulations. And that was really the core of all the ideas and how I started like creating the mechanics. So on the very early stages, I had pitched this game to Topps. They seemed to have really enjoyed it. I mean, I can't stress to you how I was promised so many different things and things, I just kept waiting, and they kept telling me they loved the product, and a contract would come my way, and don't worry. And eventually, I just made a decision that I was heading into Gen Con. I didn't want to bring prototypes branded to WWE anymore. I felt that I had given enough of my time to waiting for a publisher, and I created my own 4 characters. That was Snake Pit, Super Hombre, The Big Shot, and the Rising Sun. And I spent whatever little money I had on those cards to get the card art. I had printed the cards, and I made my first prototype. My prototype actually was locally printed cards. My dice were made out of stickers and blank counting cubes, and I actually packaged it in a Chinese food container for like my demo containers. And it really gave it like an eye-catching quality. And really, I just used it because it was like one of the cheapest boxes that I could get. A sleeve of quart or a Chinese food container that was meant for white rice or anything, they were like $20 for like 100 of them. And I remember I would go to Chinese food restaurants and I'd say I want to buy a sleeve of these things, and they were like happy to sell them. So I put together a prototype, I brought it to Gen Con, and people were buying them like crazy. And people really enjoyed the game. And that was the first time I really had played the game like outside of my circle. That was really the inspiration for it. And once I brought about 200 copies out and sold through most of them, people had suggested things like Kickstarter. And that was really the early stages. This started from my love of Raw Deal, and I had a couple opportunities. And basically, when there was some hurdle, like in this case, I'm waiting on Topps, I just decided I'm going to do this on my own. And I'm really fortunate that I took that risk.
I see. And going back to your journey, like after the Kickstarter, it sounds like you also did a Kickstarter campaign. After the Kickstarter campaign, what made you decide to go with a self-publishing route versus licensing the product to bigger publishers?
So the original Kickstarter that we did, I believe at $8,000, and I had a great friend of mine, may he rest in peace, Maurice Thompson, who he and I would drive every Thursday to a store on the East Coast, whether it was we have one little pop-up sign and we promote that we have the game and we have a Kickstarter. And we would just literally advertise. And sometimes I would take T-shirts that wrestlers would give me or whatever I could get my hands on to attract people to try out the game. And it took the whole month, and we raised about $7,000, a little bit more, and we were just shy of our goal before it ended. And I had a family friend who actually spent the last $900 to put us over and make sure that we would get funded in the final couple of days. To this day, I call them every single holiday and thank them that what they did, because they have no idea that the contribution that they did would change my life forever. So we self-published. With the Kickstarter, we got rid of the Chinese food containers. We got real boxes, and we fulfilled all the Kickstarter on our own. Once we had a nice-looking product, we continued to just sell the game via conventions on our own. And popularity of the game kept growing and growing. So eventually we created srguniverse.com. Now it's supershowthegame.com because we have other products where we would be able to actually self-distribute and self-ship from our own website. Initially, we had a third-party website that was like our first distributor selling the games and the single cards. Eventually, we were able to set up a website and start doing those things on our own. And that was really a huge turning point for us because we had the infrastructure and learned to do it. One of the things that was a horrible disaster, but would be almost in disguise for us, we were hit very badly by Hurricane Sandy. They had destroyed a lot of homes. My grandmother's house, the basement floor was just the shell after Hurricane Sandy. It was just literally a bare floor. Now, while it was no longer a place where you could like live or have furniture, it would become almost the perfect environment for us to have a warehouse, being of a warehouse. So we had this huge open area, and we started doing self-shipping. And people were interested in the game. I mean, we had a few orders every day, something that we could do full time. Um, and we
Mhm.
grew and grew. We would self ship all our products. We would self fulfill all our Kickstarters, and then we would eventually GTS, which was really transformative for us in the early stages. A gentleman by the name of Scott Morris, who's now with Lucky Ducks Games. He is a fantastic human being. He's a huge wrestling fan, and when he played
Mhm.
Supershow as a wrestling fan, this is the best wrestling game out there. Let me connect you to the people at GTS. That's where he was employed, and they put in the largest distribution order that we ever received, to date, and they became one of our distribution partners. Um,
Mm, nice. Okay.
Over time, we took on a huge load of us doing our own shipping. Now we have a shipping team. We got a wonderful girl here right now who's working on some orders as we do this as we speak. We have people come in every single day, process our orders, ship them out, track them, make sure that we're in touch with customers every single day. And it is a lot of work that everyone's dream is to get into distribution. It does pay off because we control of everything, including our customer service. There's middle involved. We are working every single day on this, but it seems very fitting for our company. It works really well for us. And especially, we do things a little differently than other companies. We offer not only our games, but we offer characters that you could purchase. We even offer single cards on our website.
Mhm.
So for another company to take over and have access to all the things we sell, we're talking about thousands and thousands of
Yeah.
SKUs that they have become familiar with. And we have access to this all day long. It's no longer run out of my grandmother's basement. I'm now fortunate to have it out of my own basement, and our garage setup, where we have filing systems and different boxes that we've made. Um,
I see.
and again, is a totally different experience. I have I have not had the experience of having a product exclusively in distributors' hands, and it was basically, hey, I made this game, you love it, you sell it, send me a check at the end of the year.
Mhm.
We actually hand assemble a lot of our products.
Mm.
We'll import boxes or produce them locally here in the United States. We'll
Yeah.
print our cards here in the United States. We'll import dice, and then we have a team of people literally hand making them, hand shrink wrapping them. Sometimes we can't even produce our products boxes fast enough that our
Mm.
products are being sold in bags with little cardboard staples on top. I mean, it's a wonderful
I
problem
see.
to have as a small company, but it is a totally different business range than a lot of our companies have, and I think that's why our website sales um, are and our single deck sales high compared to other where they have maybe one really successful Kickstarter and then other shows. We're constantly putting things out. We're making things, constantly shipping on the daily. Whether it's single cards or characters, stipulations, or dice or custom shirts, and we kind of do everything in house. It's
Mhm.
really paid off for us in the long run.
Got it. Thank you for sharing that. Can you do me one smaller favor and change your camera resolution to low instead? Because I'm still seeing a little bit of lag in the video. So,
I was one step ahead of you. I went low all the way.
oh, okay, okay, that should
I
be
did
better.
get to low. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
thank
on
you so
low
much.
currently.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So, thank you so much for sharing that. And how big is your team right now that's doing all the fulfillment and the packaging? Steve, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, we switched over on low. I hope that helps you
Okay.
out. Well, all of us
Yes.
out here.
So I was going to ask, like you mentioned about you're doing everything in house in your place. How many team member do you have that's helping you with packaging and fulfillment currently?
Usually we have three people.
Okay,
That's consistently. We do call for backup pretty often. There's a lot of times we
I
might need
see.
somebody to come in and help out um,
Mhm.
when we have like a large order of things that we need to fulfill. So, for example, for our last run of our 10th anniversary box set, we had imported the boxes and we studied with our local
Mhm.
printer and producer for our rule books and our cards and our dice. And it took several people to assemble that, and there's just like
Mhm.
our core people that are here. And then we're very close with our community here and people here. So sometimes I'll put a post up. Is anybody looking to, work a few hours, come on in or volunteer for whatever different arrangement we could think of, and people come in and help. And I'm really fortunate that we have such an incredible community and fan base that a lot of people are willing to jump on board and help when those opportunities do arise.
I see. And I think also conference really fit into your overall strategy. And I was fortunate enough that we actually met in person in Origin. I really like the booth, the setup, the demo, the energy of your booth was incredible. People were like shouting when they win, and they were also ringing the bells when they win the match. The I think the energy that's coming from your booth at the convention is different than almost all the other booths around you as well. So
Yeah, I appreciate those kind words. I mean, that's really what we're trying to capture is an experience, right? When we say that when you play Super Show, you get to live all your wildest wrestling fantasies without ever taking a chair shot, and that's being a part of a show. When you're playing this game, people that are watching it are excited; they're cheering. We bring in a ring announcer to announce you to the ring for your demo environment. Um, and you either love us or you hate us if you're a neighboring vendor, because we are very loud. By the end of the show, our guys, Langman and Langman, they boys turn back to the real world after the show, screaming and yelling and announcing and cheering. Um, and as I mentioned before, other vendors, they love us, they think it's great marketing, or they hate us because we're super loud. But that's really what we're about. We are giving people an experience that they won't forget when they step into the booth. And I think that really helps our sales in a lot of ways. And a lot of people, they come up to me pretty often and they say, "Wow, people seem having so much fun playing your game." And that has shocked me because I feel like, isn't that the whole point of all this? You're playing a game for fun. You're spending your money to go on vacation.
mhm.
You should be enjoying yourself, especially when you're playing a game. If it's something that's very intense, very stressful, that's not my idea of fun. That's not something I really want to spend my time and energy on.
I see. I know besides the Super Show the game, you also have a couple other games that you also develop that you also provide. Can you also talk a little bit of the other two games that you also have? Steve, I think you're muted now. I couldn't hear you now. Can you hear me now, Steve? I couldn't hear your mic for some reason. So no, I still couldn't hear you. I can see you, but I couldn't hear your mic for some reason. Can you check the mic setting for me really quick? Still couldn't hear you, Steve. Okay, I think I can hear something now. You want to try to say something again? Okay,
Hello.
yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, yeah, I think I can hear you now. Yeah, sorry for the technical
All
difficulty
right.
we're having.
Thank you. I'm sorry for all the technical
Yeah,
interruptions. Uh,
yeah.
so we've also published a game called Scally Wager. This is a game I really love. I developed it when one of my friends who I mentioned before had passed away. Around the same time as we played tested Super Show. So you'll see some 2014 descriptions in there. The art was made in 2017. And through the success of Super Show, we totally self-published this. Actually, doing something that was really old school in the form of selling games is we didn't pre-market it, we didn't pre-order it. We really believed in the product. We printed them and we sold them. You know, we're on about
Hmm.
our third print run of this game, um, and it's called Scally Wager. It's still one of my favorite things, which is the ancient game of liar's dice. But it adds a
Okay.
board game element of it. It's very simple. You play liar's dice, and one of those rounds of bluffing and deception, you get two options. You either hunt for treasure, you draw a treasure card, which is an item that goes face up. Everyone knows what it is. It either
Yeah.
gives you a permanent effect or something that you could discard to do something. Those are things like cannons and compasses or maps. Or you go on a card. When you draw it, is a card that only you see, but
Hmm.
you get to use it in that next round of poker style bluffing. So it's a surprise effect. It might curse your opponent or change your dice results. It's really high risk, high reward because you only have one turn to use it. And it's a really simple mechanic. The cards are very thematic to pirate lore and actually pirate history and actually nautical items. So if you're into like any of those things, it heavily draws on some of the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Those were some of my favorite things too. It's been a real blast, and we were able to get our price down super low to $25, and that comes with 35 D6. So I usually joke when I'm at the booth that for $25, you get 35 dice and a free 5-player game, and that usually be
Hmm.
a good sales pitch for people to just take the game for the dice in it. Um, it's a really big
Hmm.
hit,
I
and
see.
as I mentioned, we just printed it and we're selling them, and stores pick them up for retail on their own. The next product that we have that I'm probably most excited about is a game called Rummy Gummies. It's a
Hmm.
really simple family card game. I developed it with my 11-year-old daughter, who's 12 now. Her name's Isabella. One day we were playing Throw Burrito in the house, which is a really fun game. My kids got bored of it a
Hmm.
little quickly, and Isabella had suggested, why don't we play Rummy, like the classic games that you play with a poker deck, using these cards? So she started making up her own rules.
Hmm.
After she kept going with these rules, I reminded her that I publish games for a living, that if she wanted to make her own game, we could really do that with other cards. And we came up with some cool ideas that we tested. And uh, originally, we had some funny concepts, which was like junk food versus superfoods, and it closed. And that would be the greatest contribution to society of all time. Convention I've gone to, I've left with 0 copies. We're
Oh,
excited that
okay.
we're going to have a
Oh.
mass production that should be coming in about a month or so. We've seen about
Hmm.
1,500 at a time, and they just don't make it through any convention. Uh, uh,
I
it's
see. That's a really good
just
problem to have when you're
just
selling out every time you
simple.
present it at a convention. Okay, sorry, there was a little bit of lag. Can you hear me now?
All right, I got you back. I did lose you
Oh,
for a moment. I don't know how much of that was able to get through. I, yeah,
yeah,
and I do apologize. I wish I had a little bit more time to troubleshoot what the issue was.
yeah.
I think I said it might just be my bandwidth is too low.
Mm, mhm.
I don't have to again. My apologies.
No problem. We'll try our best ability to edit as much as we can in the post production process. But thank you so much for sharing all the games, and congratulations on the success that you're already seeing across all the different like amazing product that you have created over the years. As well, wrapping up today's interview, the final question I usually like to ask
Thank you
is if
very
you have.
much. I appreciate that, and
Mm,
we had some really great compliments at our game, and I'm really proud of all that. But one thing I have to say on repeat is the thing that I'm most proud of is the community of people we built around the game. It's wonderful. It tells we always push play it forward, meaning it's your community first and it's your competition second. You're there to have a good time with people. Like, yes, we want you to lose. You're in good hands, and just a great group of people. They look out for new players. They take care of people in the community like Emily. It's really been wonderful to see. So for me, that really is the greatest success of everything that we've put so far. Is how people have responded to our brand as being a part of a group that's caring, charitable, giving, compassionate, and that is really the most special thing for me. I often joke that if I wanted to be really rich, I would go and sell insurance. But I'm here selling board games, and it's been one.
I see. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, for our audience that would be interested to learn a little bit more about your games and your product, where is the best place for people to find you online?
Some of the best places slash SRG Universe. We do shows each week. Tuesday night, we have a show where if you're watching, there are tons of free giveaways. It's live games played via webcam. Wednesday night, we do a show that does the week in review plus recaps plus looking forward. On Thursday afternoons, we stream the creation of future cards that are coming out. So you get to see in real time the discussion of playtesting and inspiration for effects. On Sunday, we stream what's called Sunday Night Fights, where we build a match card like a wrestling show, and players play out storyline matches live on Twitch. It really is a really fun environment to be around. We also have a Discord page, which is great to get some information about the game. And something that's really active is our Supershow discussion group on Facebook. We're
Mhm.
old. I'm getting up there. It's amazing to say that I've been doing this 10 years, and Jay, I don't have to tell you how fast technology is moving and platforms are changing. But when I
Yeah.
was younger, Facebook was the thing. It's even called Facebook anymore. Members of people in there, they're posting advice. They're posting all really great places that you could find us. The last thing I would like to promote is we do have another Kickstarter coming up. We just did an amazing Kickstarter called Super Lucha. That was a combo with the original creator of Mucha Lucha, which was a Warner Brothers cartoon, Eddie Mort, who is a wonderful person. He's probably my favorite person I've ever gotten to work with, just on his enthusiasm, his passion, and his kindness, and his skill, of course. That just got wrapped up. It's shipping out in about a month. And then in the middle of July, we'll be launching a box set with a partnership with Matt Cardona and Brian Myers of the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast. That's something that you should really look forward for. It's going to be an affordable game, about $30. Get you a brand new Super Show set featuring those stars, and I'm really excited that this could be one of the bigger projects that we've ever done.
I see. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And thank you for all of our listeners for tuning in for today's episode of Toy Business Unboxed podcast. We hope you have enjoyed today's conversation and find it insightful and inspiring. If you like what you have heard, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so you never miss an episode. We really appreciate your support and would love it if you can leave us a review and share the podcast with your friend and colleague. For more resource tips and the latest update in the toys and game industry, visit our website at toy-launch.com. Join the conversation and connect with us on social media using hashtag Toy Business Unboxed. We'd love to hear your feedback and suggestion for future episodes. Until next time, keep innovating, keep creating, bring joy to toys. This is Jason Shea signing off on the Toy Business Unboxed podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, man.